Most people want a better life, better finances, better health, more freedom, more confidence. But most people are looking for this transformation in the wrong places.
They want the motivation. They want the right moment. They want the perfect opportunity, and they've just been waiting for that breakthrough.
But what if transformation doesn't happen in that one big moment? What if it happens through hundreds of tiny decisions made every day?
And what if the difference between where you want to be and where you actually are isn't years? It's 180 days.
And today, we're asking one question. If transformation doesn't happen overnight, when does it happen? This is the Unplug Podcast. Let's get into it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and people who are just joining us for the first time.
How dare you?
How audacious. We are the Unplug Podcast, and we are here to help you unplug from societal norms.
And live life on your own terms.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the solopreneurs. This is for the entrepreneurs.
Tell him again, my G.
This is for the people that are in a situation right now that they hate. You might hate your job. You might hate your partner. You might hate your kids.
Therefore,
this is the podcast for you.
But before we get into the sauce, you guys have been greedy.
Too greedy.
Too greedy.
Too greedy.
What are they doing, my G?
They are taking the sauce, the juice, the steps, the practicalities, the experience, but they're not sharing the love.
Why?
They're not sharing it with their friends.
Tell
they're
a
not
friend,
commenting. They're not subscribing.
Please.
Guys, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So all it takes is for you to press that small little button on your screen and lock in and stay up to date with our shorts, when a new episode drops. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, make sure you're following.
There we go. JP, what were we saying? It was so good that we had to run it back on a part 2.
We had to run it back. So we decided to bring it a part 2. So last week, we done an episode on how to transform your life in the next 180 days. Not the next year, not the next 2 years, 180 days, aka 6 months. Now, today I want to run this back because I think there's a few more gems that we can give to the people before the end of the year is over to help them go to the next level. But before we get started, I want to talk to you and I want to ask you a question, bro. And the question is, why do people underestimate small actions so much in terms of changing their life?
I feel like because it doesn't feel, and even just by the name in itself, it doesn't feel like it's doing much. Do you get what I mean? It almost feels pointless. Do you get what I mean? Like you saying sometimes even for me, years ago, I was like, what's the quickest way to get a 6-pack in 30 days? Do you get what I mean? Or, do you get what I mean? Whereas realistically, it's just going to the gym, once a day, every week for 5 days a week, have 2, it just feels, it doesn't feel like it's enough. You feel like you need a massive, big change, something like catastrophic, monumental needs to happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it just kind of feels a bit pointless with these small goals.
Yeah, I think for me, the reality is, and people will laugh when they hear this, trying to pursue success is boring, bro.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, it's not exciting. And the reason why it's not that is because it's doing the same thing day in, day out, whether you feel like doing it or not. Trying to achieve a level of success is boring. It's them same boring habits, going to bed at a certain time, getting up at a certain time, reading a book that's going to help change your life, jumping on a course. Those things are not sexy, but those small things done every single day could definitely change your life. And I think one of the biggest things is that social media and the world are really pushing this instant gratification thing where people feel like they can do something or should do something and it should happen overnight. But we know true meaningful success doesn't happen overnight. It is the consistency, is the persistent, it is just the discipline of doing small little things day in, day out. It's not about doing 6,000 things. It's about identifying 6 or 7 things and doing those things 4,000 times.
100%. And I feel like James Clear, amazing author on Atomic Habits, actually talks about it in terms of the tiny improvements that compound. And I think the big problem for a lot of people is they give up or they quit before the compound effect kicks in, and I almost sort of like to, for the lack of, horrible analogy, almost like you're pumping a balloon, right? And let's just say the pop when you reach maximum air is like your breakthrough.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like just before the balloon's about to pop, just before it's about to give way, people give up. And the problem with giving up, it deflates all the air and all the hard work and all the effort that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a big problem that a lot of people have.
No, I love that. And I just want to give a hot take. And my hot take is this, that most people aren't one breakthrough away from success. They're one habit away, because I truly believe one habit or one positive habit can change your life. Whether that's the habit of learning to be more disciplined, the habit of, I don't know, learning a new skill every day. Like, a positive habit can change your life. And I feel like if you are in a place right now and you're not happy with your life, one habit can change your life.
Another thing as well that I want to talk a bit about is sort of maximizing your current resources.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of the time when people want to have that big idea or have that big plan, they say, oh, who can I try to take and what can I try to do and X, Y, Z. And I'll give you a perfect example, like, you know, part of like my consultancy business, and I help a lot of people to try to get started in property through Airbnb. A lot of the time people say, oh, I don't know any landlords, or I don't speak to estate agents. Like, how many contacts do you have in your phone book right now? Are you trying to tell me out of your 200, 300 contacts, you don't know a friend, dad, brother, sister, cousin, sisters, uncle, friend that owns at least one property? And it's not necessarily to say that that one property will be for you, but landlords know landlords, right? So look into your immediate resources. And I kind of want to have a discussion about, you know, sort of like maximizing what's in your hand and what you currently have a play in terms of your immediate resource.
Yes. And I think the problem with that is so easy to focus on what you don't have and what you do have. It's almost like on the road to pursuing success, whatever that means to you. Unfortunately, we always think about what we don't have and we forget what we do have. So that's why one of the things that I've tried to practice over the years is gratitude, because gratitude makes you appreciate what you've achieved so far. And also just kind of makes you G-check yourself. Yeah. Which I think is important. So I think that's one of the biggest ones. People just focusing on, you know, what they don't have instead of what they do have. And also like comparison as well, comparing themselves to others. That's another big one. But where we're going with this, guys, is that you can change your life with the resources that you have right now, with people you know right now. You might know someone who knows someone who does what you want to do or what you want to learn about, you know, and that all it takes is one message. Oh, I know you know so-and-so and they do that. I'm looking to get into it. That's your current resources. That's your network. Like, you can probably be utilizing your network a bit better. Like, for those of you who know Freeman, you know, he does the things that he does, and myself, like, there's things that you can get into. And if we don't know, we might know someone who knows.
Yes.
So start opening up your mouth and speaking to people, telling people what you want to do.
100%. And I feel like it is definitely a mentality thing as well, like in terms of like, you know, a lack mentality versus an abundant mentality. But I also want to think, I feel like this sort of perspective of, you know, using what's in your hands, I think that comes from people who have slight more resource, that being money or time. And I feel like ultimately a lot of the people who don't have, they don't have like the capacity to be a bit more creative with what they have. Yes. Right. So I kind of also want to, like, you know, give you the challenge, like maybe, you know, you've got a bit of money around you, you've got some savings, you've got a few £1,000 saved up, or, you know, you've got a weekend where you kind of got some time to yourself. Think to yourself, what if I only had £100? And what if I only had half a day? What could you do? And I feel like with that, it kind of like shortens or narrows like how far of a tangent that your brain could possibly go on and what you should try to do and what you should think about doing and what you should research. Like, cool, this is my goal. This is the one thing I have. I've got half a day and I've got X amount of limited amount of resources. What is the next best plan? Because I think that's ultimately where it comes from. Because when you've got like a lot of resources around you, you know what I mean? I think, oh, I want to do a bit of this and do a bit of that. But like really and truly, like it comes from like, you know, a limited amount of resources. Okay, cool. This is literally the last 5 I have to my name and I have to stretch it. Yes.
Yes. And I think what that also does, it forces like laser focus. Like, you don't have to laser, you don't have all these different options. You have this one option and I'm almost got to make what I have work. And one of the biggest success principles that I've learned about is that success isn't about what you don't have. It's about using what you do have. So really, like, and I'll give an example. Obviously, I'm sure when you first started your business, you had to rely on what you had, not what you didn't have. Of course. Because if you focus on what you didn't have, it deters you or distracts you from using what you do have to make a success of it.
100%. But talking like more early days now, being a bit more specific with some personal like circumstances. Yes. What would you say some early struggles that you had in your businesses where you had, you know, limited capital, you didn't have a name, no credibility? Like, how did you not allow that to be like a limiting factor for you?
I'm going to talk about finances. I think that's a big one. A lot of people use the excuse of not having money themselves to get something going or something started. And funny enough, I was in the library yesterday, not the library, I was in the leisure centre yesterday, got talking to a guy, young guy, and he was saying to me, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I do Airbnb. He said, oh, how much would I need to get into something like that? And I said, well, depending on what you want in London, maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 grand. He said, oh, I'm only 20, like, where am I meant to get 10 grand? Instantly, right there, you have a limiting belief that you feel because you don't have 10 grand, you can't get into Airbnb. I said to him, you can get a loan. He was like, yeah, but I've got to pay that back. I was like, that's how it works, my friend. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you study rich people, it's a known fact that rich people don't use their own money.
Yeah.
They use the bank's money or get investors.
OPM,
other people's money, right? So again, that's probably a limiting belief that because you don't have the money, you don't feel you can. So for me, sorry, I digress. Going back, when I first started, I was quite fortunate. I did have a pot of money, but if I didn't, I would have went to somebody who I know has just money sitting there earning 3% in the bank and said, look, I'm going to start up an Airbnb business. I'm going to borrow money off you, and whatever you're earning in the bank, 3%, I'm going to give you 15%. All of a sudden now you've got an investor.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that kind of level of thinking. Let me not think I can't. Let me think how.
That's really good. I feel like for me, very early on in my business, I had no credibility and no actual experience in what it is I was trying to do. So obviously I was trying to take on landlords' properties or work with agents and take on the landlords' properties that they manage on behalf of the landlord, of course, and run them as Airbnbs. But the big fat question I get from an estate agent is, your business 2 years old? I said, no, it's 2 days old. And another question I get from a landlord is like, okay, cool, sweet. Like, what else? Like, how big is your portfolio? What else do you have? And that was like a big stumbling factor for me. So rather than thinking, oh, cool, like, you know, I've got to wait, or I've got to wait some time to try and do this, or maybe I might lie or whatever, I thought, let me become an expert and as knowledgeable as this as possible to give the impression that I'm giving my asset or I'm giving this property to someone that I can trust. Because I don't, like, they didn't even question to think how many properties I had. When I got my first, because I was so informed of the, like, you know, I was coming from, like, my first ever property was in Birmingham, but my first ever Airbnb was in Bradford, right? So when I was speaking, I got it from an agent, but when I was speaking from the local agent, he was so in awe of how well informed I was of Bradford, 400 miles away from me being in London. He was so taken aback. There was like 30 properties in the building. I ended up managing like 35% of the whole building.
This guy took over Bradford.
You know what I mean, bro? Because I was so informed. I knew all the hospitals. I knew all the roads. I knew, like, sometimes, like, a lot of people say, like, I live by postcodes.
Yes.
I know every single postcode of every single major city in the UK, and like where it starts, of where it ends, where the hotspots, where, like, I just made myself massively informed because that was the only resource I had that I could build upon knowledge. I couldn't, like, whip up experience out of nowhere.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? And so that was the thing for me.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think that's a big one. I think, you know, if you're listening to this right now, watching this, the question becomes, what resources are you already sitting on or that in your hands right now? So is it the skills? Is it the relationships? Is it the time? Is it the knowledge? Is it the opportunities? Because we want you to really stop focusing on what's missing and maximize what's available to you. Like, you have things available to you right now that if you was to zone in and lock in on them, you can make things start to happen. Guys, JP here. Sorry to interrupt the episode. Just want to say thank you for those who are watching already. We really, really appreciate you. If you haven't already, please make sure you're liking, you're sharing, you're subscribing. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Get back to the episode.
So I feel like naturally it's sort of very good to have clarity on, like, standards and expectations. And I kind of wanted to ask you a bit of a question, bro. Do you think goals change lives or standards change lives?
I think standards change lives because your standards are what you live by every day, whereas your goal is just something you set out that you want to achieve. I think your goal can set the expectations of your standards. So let me break that down. So if you've set the goal of, I don't know, I'm going to lose 30 pounds in the next 6 months. That now sets the standard of how you need to live, what you need to eat, what you need to drink, how much sleep you need, being healthy, giving up drinking, giving up smoking. Like, it almost sets the standard. So the reality is, you know, your success shows up in what you do every day and are hidden away in your habits and your routines. So in answer to your question, yeah, I think it's the standards.
Can one live without the other?
But then if you have standards, what you just have standards for the sake of it. Like, and I believe, and I'm sure it says somewhere, whether it's in the Bible, that life is about evolving and growing. So you should have things that you're trying to achieve that are going to push you and make you grow. Because without that, you're just living a purposeless life.
But then what you know is, for some people, they can say like, yeah, I'm happy, quote unquote. Like,
but are you though? Happy with what?
Like, I've got my job, I've got my kids, I've got my white picket fence, semi-detached house. I make, 60, 80 grand a year. Like, I'm happy.
So the question then becomes, can you be happier? And are you really happy?
But is that not greedy now?
Someone can say they're happy because it sounds good. But if you was to really like look at their life, or they was to really look at their life and really just get honest and naked.
But then now you're not just like looking for problems that don't necessarily need to be like...
Not necessarily, because again, one of my personal philosophies, and like I always say to you, your philosophy determines where you go in life and what you achieve. My personal philosophy is that you can always get better. And you should be getting better every day, 1%. James Clear.
Yeah. So
I feel like the majority of people have gotten to a place where they're no longer getting better. They're not trying to get better 1% every day. So they've normalized, like, where I'm at right now, I'm okay with it. But again, if you're okay with your life, then quite frankly, this podcast isn't for you. This podcast is for people who are not happy with their life, legit. And they want to achieve and they want to get better and they want to set goals and they want to be around the right type of people. And they, like we said, they hate their life, they hate their wife, they hate their kids and want to get better.
Yeah. And I feel like naturally a big part of that is all about toleration, right? Yes. And Tony Robinson, like, I think famously said, people don't get what they want, they get what they tolerate.
Which is very uncomfortable.
Right. And let's talk a bit about that in terms of like people's toleration. Like, where does that sort of come from? Like, why are people happy to just, I'm just going to be fat?
Yeah.
I'm a smoker. I just like gambling. I like chicks, man. I'm a guy. I'm human. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? Like,
I think that comes from, let's say, just kind of normalized behavior to the point where you're doing it so long that you just accept it as a standard. It's your behavior.
Yeah.
And we know once something becomes a standard, a behavior, a habit, it's so hard to break, bro.
Yeah, both ways.
It's so hard to break. Like, I always say to you, like, we're always trying to like encourage people and motivate people, but we know it's hard to change yourself. So trying to change other people is near enough impossible, bro.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, in answer to your question, people have normalized a level of behavior, accepted it as the norm, and now this is just me. And again, I think people stay the way they are because it's easier to stay where you are. It's easy to just be the person you've been for the last 10 years, as opposed to now I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to change my behaviors. I'm going to come out of this environment. I'm going to meet new people. That's scary. That's the unknown. But that's where the growth happens. Because ultimately, if you keep doing the same things you're doing today, you did last week, your life is going to be the same.
Question, bro. Do you think everyone has the capacity to change?
100%.
Really?
100%.
You don't think anyone's fully ever written off?
No. And again, because I indoctrinate myself with like positive things and like listen to a lot of people who are considered successful in their own right, that inspires me and motivates me and lets me know like the world is your oyster. Like, you can be whoever you want to be if you're prepared to do what it takes to be that person. And Jim Rohn famously said that us as human beings, we're not a tree. Like, we were designed to like grow and we can move and we can change. And if you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, change it. If you don't like your partner, change it. Like, you can change your life. You're not a tree.
Yeah.
Where a tree can't change, a tree can't move. A tree stays where it is. Like, you're not a tree. Like, change. Don't keep complaining about your life and the things in your life if you're not prepared to change. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think they can, bro.
No, and I think this is a really good opportunity, especially for you listening. I'm talking to you, you at home right now, to like use this as an opportunity to like to really mirror, right? What are you tolerating right now? Are you tolerating poor health, a toxic relationship, your current work, how much money you're making, your current businesses? Like, what are you currently tolerating right now, and what can you change?
No, I love that, and I think just a quick discussion around like, expectations, because what I've found and research has shown is that human beings tend to live up to their expectations. So what that basically means is that in your life, if you're expecting a little, you're going to get a little. If you expect more, you're going to get more. So start behaving differently. Start demanding more of yourself. And your life will change. Do you know what I mean? Start them like you can be more, but you have to demand that from yourself. No one else is going to demand more from you than yourself.
100%.
And it's understanding that.
100%.
You know, so guys, can we raise our standards? Because when we raise our standards, our life will rise to meet those standards.
100%.
So this part now, I want to talk about rituals, habits, and how people are spending their time. So I'm gonna throw out a question to you. What do you think shapes someone's life more, making like a big decision or their daily habits?
I can't lie, I was gonna say I'm quite impulsive. So I was gonna say like, a big decision. I'm coming out, but like I definitely think like looking back, I think a compound of smaller decisions, because I feel like the satisfaction that you will receive from hitting that smaller milestone will be so good. It will obviously lead you to now jump into the next, into the next, into the next. So I definitely think smaller habits or smaller commitments is a lot more manageable, in my personal opinion, for a lot more people, because you can see the satisfaction that you can receive. And I kind of said this in the last episode as well, in the sense that for me, I feel you'll get a greater sense of achievement by trying to like say, okay, cool, in the next 90 days, I want to do X. 90 days comes, you receive X, and then you can now move that goalpost. I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my thoughts are, I genuinely believe that kind of what you do consistently is more important than what you do once in a while. So you going to the gym 3 times a week is more important than you going to the gym once a month. Like you having that consistent habit, you dedicating the time to go to the gym 3-4 times a week is definitely going to be more impactful than you going once a month. You reading that book consistently, 10 pages every day, rather than having that one moment in the month where you're like, oh, let me read my book. Like, you can clearly see which one's going to have the biggest compounding effect, which one's going to be the most impactful. So that's kind of, my take on that. Because an example I want to give of that, I read something, it was like, let's say you decide that, I don't know, I'm going to wake up an hour earlier every day for the next 6 months, right? Our thing is how you change your life within the next 6 months. So if you decide you're going to get up an hour earlier over the next 6 months, that equates to 180 hours more that you didn't have. That is the equivalent, I've got here, of like a 4.5 working week, 180 hours. So if you think about that, that could be, like I said, learning to a new skill. It could be exercising. It could be building a side business. It could be, I'm going to work on my personal development, like really using your time more wisely. And I feel like success comes down to a lot of your time management, like what you are doing in those hours. What are you doing when no one's watching you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What are you doing behind the scenes? And it's what you're doing behind the scenes that has the biggest impact and change in your life.
110%. And I kind of want to take a bit of a hot take in the sense that I feel like most people don't have a time problem. They genuinely have a priority problem.
Yes.
And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier in terms of, I think you even said this in the last episode, in the sense of how much do you want this in the form of like, it needs to be like equal to like the breath of life.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? And I speak to a lot of people, a lot of people reach out to me, they book in calls with me, say, yeah, I want to get started in property. So, okay, cool. You're going to have to invest your time. You're going to have to invest your money. You're going to have to invest your energy. And you're going to have to get comfortable learning something new. Let me speak to the wife.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just moved house. I just got a new, do you got, and I literally point blank, clearly you are very competent and happy with your current circumstance right now. And you're more than happy to live in your job for the rest of your life. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because obviously getting started in property, making a lot more money, being a lot more fruitful isn't a priority.
Yes. It's not important enough. And that's what I always say as well, that you have to get to a place in your life where you've had enough of living the way that you want to live, because ultimately that's when you make the change. When you're sick and tired of your circumstances, when you hate your boss, like seeing your boss, it makes you feel sick. Like the thought of going into work the next day, it's driving you insane, bro. It's only then when you feel that real pain that you can change your life. Because until you get to that point, you're comfortable and your life will, forever stay the same. And just to kind of add on to that before we kind of close up this section, I truly believe that, your future could be hiding in that extra hour that you now open up to work on yourself and build something meaningful. Don't underestimate an extra hour a day, guys, because over a 6-month period, like I said, that's 180 hours. Imagine what you can do with an extra 180 hours in your life right now.
100%.
And how your life can change.
Definitely. But guys, we kind of just want to rehash again on that action challenge, right? Because I can imagine a few of you probably didn't take down any notes. A few of you didn't actually want to commit. So I just want to rehash it for the people in the back and give you an extra last chance on this. So the action challenge is, before you leave today, before you press pause or you go into another Mr. Beast or a KSI Sideman video, yeah, I want you to write down one thing, one commitment, one habit that you can commit to, right? Then I want you to upgrade one part of your environment, right? And number 3, raise your standard. And finally, most importantly, find an accountability partner. Someone that you can share your goals with, someone that you can share your ambitions with, and you vice versa with them.
Cool. So I can't really add much to that, guys. Obviously, we're setting these challenges to give you something to work towards. It's great listening to this and watching this and getting inspired and getting motivated. But if you're not going to go away and implement what you're hearing or listening to, it's pointless. So we'll leave that down to you. But yeah, in closing, I think for me personally, that my biggest take from today's episode is that transformation isn't something dramatic. It's not this one big thing that happens. It is deliberate. It is kind of taking those small actions consistently every day and long enough and being patient enough to see results. I think that's another big problem that we have, is that we start something and because we don't see the results straight away, we give up. We go gym and because, the belly's still hanging over the trousers or, the arms are still looking a bit small, or, we've launched our personal brand and we're only getting 200 people watch our stuff. We give up.
Yeah.
But success doesn't happen overnight.
Definitely. And just finally adding to that, transformation isn't an event. It's a process. It's a slow and gruesome process where you need to apply your habits, you need to be committed, and you need to be persistent. Because it's not a matter of how long and when you'll get there, but more so the type of person you become when you do. And I think that's way more important than anything else.
No, I love that. Because like we said on the previous episode, guys, the next 6 months are going to arrive. But the question is, where will you arrive? Where will you be in the next 6 months? What will you be doing? Will you be saying the same old story? I'm not where I want to be and I don't like my boss and I don't like my partner and, I want to get rid of this and that. Where will you be in the next 6 months?
So guys, I really hope you appreciated this pod. It was so good. We had to run it twice.
We had to run it back.
We had to run it back. JP, where are we always on?
We are on Apple. We're on Spotify. Listen, I know people's mums who listen to this podcast.
110%.
Your mum might even be listening to this as well,
We're in your mum's ears.
You know what I mean? So
we can say that, I guess. But guys, as always, make sure you tell a friend, tell your mum, tell your dad, tell his mistress. As always, love, love, love.
Elevate.